So in this video, I'm going to talk about what to do if nothing is working. This is kind of an important topic because a lot of authors get frustrated. They've published a book. Often they tried everything they could think of to market, and maybe a year or two later, they have books out, but nothing is working. They're not selling any books. Their books are kind of invisible on Amazon. They've already done all the promotion and marketing they can think of, and they're just not seeing any results. So I get a lot of people at this stage. It's almost an inevitable stage for most authors because almost all authors will ignore every good advice that they get. For the first couple of years as publishers, they are determined to do the book the way that they want to, especially self-publishing authors. One of the nice things about self-publishing is that we have more control over the project. But when you give an author design control over the book cover, for example, and they design something that they like because they're trying to stand out or make something different or something that represents their story, they want something that surprises readers, that doesn't fit into the genre, that's stands out on Amazon. Those are all amateur design mistakes that will kill book sales. But no matter how much I try to communicate to new authors not to do things a certain way, most authors continue to do things a certain way. That's kind of like the default, what's the word? Not inspired. The position that most authors come from without really understanding the market, they tend to make the same mistake. So what I found is that I can try to educate authors to do things the right way to sell, but they're probably not willing to listen until they've failed enough. So until they've published books exactly the way that they've wanted to, people will tell them that cover doesn't work. They don't care. They tune it out. They say, I'm just going to do it my way anyway. Generally, most authors have to screw up the first time because they're not ready to listen to advice. And so a year or two later, they've done it their way and it didn't work. Now they're open to feedback and advice. But what happens often is they're still looking for some new bullet marketing, like something that they haven't considered yet, something they think, like when most authors consider marketing, they're thinking about promotion or advertising, like how do I put my book in front of more new readers? So that's what they're looking for because that's what they think marketing is. So they want to hire a publicity agent or a PR representative or a book marketer to do things for them, and they think things like getting a billboard or getting on the radio or getting on a morning talk show, they think those are things that will sell more books. So that's what they want to do. And actually, almost always, they need to fix the core problems, which are book cover and sales description. That's what needs to happen when your books aren't selling, but most authors don't consider that as part of their book marketing. So I'll go through a few points. The worse your core offer, which is just your cover, your sales copy, and your reviews, the harder you need to work to overcome buyer resistance. So if you're trying to sell a book to a stranger and they pick it up and the cover is not attractive to them, first of all, if the cover isn't attractive and if the cover doesn't communicate the genre, they'll never turn the book over to read the description. Or on Amazon, they'll never click the cover to read the description and find out what the book is about. So most people will reject your book without actually knowing what your book is about or what the story is or whether or not they're going to like it. They reject it based on the cover immediately. So if that's your problem, and it's a very common problem for most authors, that's what you need to fix. But if your cover is kind of okay, but not great, and you get some people to turn it over and read the back, then your description is really important. And if your description doesn't totally grab their attention and make them wonder what happens next and be willing to pay whatever you're charging for the book, then they're not going to buy the book. And if your cover and your description isn't enough to convince someone to pay for your book, then you won't make any money. You won't make any sales. That's kind of obvious, but more marketing isn't going to solve that problem. So you could either fix the cover or change the description to make it convert better, or if the price is the problem, you could give it away for free to at least get people to start reading it. So if you have buyer resistance, which means nobody's willing to pay for your book because you're not selling it well enough, then you could give it away for free and you might at least get some readers and some reviews. which is this point. If all else fails, give them away for free. I know authors are skeptical, or they don't like the idea of giving their book away for free, but they're also not making any money, and they're often spending lots and lots of money on marketing and promotion, and it's not working. It would be easier to just give your book away for free than to do more marketing which isn't working. Ads and marketing won't plug the holes in your conversion. The most important thing, again, is not more visibility. The most important thing is fixing your conversion. So when people land on your Amazon page and they're the right kinds of readers and they should like your book, if your book cover and description were good enough, those people would buy the book. And if they're not buying the book, you need to fix those problems. Luckily, those are easy problems to fix. It's much easier to just get a new cover and rewrite your sales description, or hire someone to write better sales description, than it is to try to do a huge marketing or launch campaign. If you don't have money to fix your covers, I know it can be harder for authors to get new covers if they don't know what's wrong with their cover, or they don't know what kind of covers are actually going to sell, or if covers are really expensive and you don't want to spend a few $100s on a new cover. The easiest thing you can do is to fix your description, because that's going to make a big impact on conversion, and that's just writing. It is very difficult to do your own description, but you can hire a bunch of people to help you edit that description and make it tighter or cleaner. I put out a video on writing better descriptions. I start with like a hook that relates to your story, and then the actual story. There are formulas to do it, but there's almost every book, even books that are selling really well, could be doing this a lot better. So focus on your description first, because that's the easiest thing. However, with your book cover, if your cover isn't working, it's probably because you tried to do something different or interesting and you didn't make a cover that fits in with the genre. So once you realize that's the mistake you've made, it should be a lot easier to get a cover that actually works. The easiest way is to just grab a really nice pre-made cover that is attractive and beautiful, that appeals to your target audience. That doesn't have to be very expensive. You could buy some art for a couple $100s. You can get some pretty nice custom stuff made, and just switch it out. Don't be afraid to just put a new cover on Amazon and see if that boosts your conversion. It doesn't really matter that some people have seen the other cover before. I test out 3 or 4 covers when I publish a book just to see which one is going to perform the best. So the easiest thing to fix is your description, because it's just text, so you can just rewrite it or hire someone to rewrite it for you. But the most impactful thing is your cover. The thing that's going to make the biggest difference on all of your marketing and promotion and conversion in general is your cover, because if your cover isn't working, they're never getting to the description anyway. So your cover is probably the problem. If your book's not selling, almost always when people ask me, what can I do to sell more books, and I look at their Amazon page, almost always it's a cover. So not the easiest thing to do, but the thing that's actually going to make a difference is getting new covers that really work and attract your audience. If you haven't tried a new cover, rewritten your blurb, and done a free campaign or a perma-free book, you haven't tried everything. So a lot of authors tell me things like, wait, let me check the next one. Yeah. A lot of authors tell me something like, I've tried absolutely everything, but my books aren't selling. And when I look at their books, they're not using a perma-free book. They're not using a 99-cent series starter. A lot of them start at like $2.99 and $3.99. They don't have a great sales copy. They don't have covers that sell the book to their target audience. So actually, they're doing everything wrong. And they are just trying to compensate by doing extra marketing and promotion. So they'll spend a lot of money on courses or products or promotions or advertising, or they'll hire someone to do marketing for them. None of that stuff is going to work if your core platform isn't converting your target audience. So when you're actually getting in front of strangers and sending them to your Amazon page or your website, and you don't have a strong cover or a description, or you don't have enough reviews. A lot of times, I didn't mention it here, but a lot of authors get 10 or 20 reviews and then they quit, and they think that's enough. But getting more reviews will improve your conversion. I like to have 100 reviews on my books before I actually really spend money on marketing or advertising, because I know more reviews will improve my conversion. So if I'm going to spend $1,000 on advertising, I want more of those leads to become fans or pay for the book so I can make my money back. So I would rather wait. And that's why when I do a launch, I'll usually launch for free, or I'll do a soft launch for a month or two to make sure I've tested everything and make sure my Amazon page is really converting well. And then I'll spend more money on ads or promotion because I know my page is gonna sell the book. Something else to keep in mind is that you will always be limited by the demands of the market. So for example, I have a friend who does reasonably well in a certain genre that's not a very popular genre. It's Greek mythology, which is kind of what I write also. And her covers are well-designed covers. They're not exactly ideal for the target market. They do stand out. They are a little bit more unique, but they are really nicely designed. They look really cool. I probably think her covers aren't the problem because she's already around 3,000 in the Amazon store, which is really good. I think for that particular market, for Greek mythology, young adult, she's doing pretty well. So she's thinking about redoing the covers because she thinks the covers aren't converting enough. I think probably she's limited by the market. I think that market doesn't have enough hungry readers looking for those kinds of books to keep the book up higher. So she could probably spend more on advertising and get up even higher. I know like Percy Jackson and stuff sell really well. I know there are some other books. There's one that's there's one kind of strange case that's selling crazy well right now in Greek mythology. So it's possible to get up higher and there's things I could say about, like, if you wanted your books to be like Percy Jackson and to get the same market, you would need to have the same type of covers. So those kind of covers are usually illustrated. They have a very small figure with a big epic background, conflict background. That's kind of the Percy Jackson model. And this other book that looks almost like a copy of the Percy Jackson covers is selling really well in the same genre. So my friend's covers aren't like that. That could be a problem. But keep in mind, like, sometimes you want to get like in the top 100 or something, or you think your book should be selling much better. But if you didn't write a book in a very hungry, popular market, if you didn't write commercial fiction that satisfies readers of a commercial fiction genre, like urban fantasy or a paranormal romance or something, for example, like vampires and werewolves sell 10 times better than dystopian or time travel or Greek mythology, because you can know that. I know that because I've tested that out, but you can also know that just by doing basic keyword research and recognizing that less people are searching for certain types of books. So if you've written a book that fits like certain keywords, you have to know how much demand, how many people are actually searching for the kind of book that you have written. Based on the keywords that they're looking for, will they find your book? That's a huge indicator of how well your book can do. So if you've written something that's not very commercial and doesn't have a very hungry market, that's maybe you're doing everything right. Maybe your cover and your description, your blurb is all fine, but it's just not in demand because readers aren't really looking for that kind of book. That's something you can realize, and if you want to sell more books, you can write books that are in more popular markets. But I would say, even if you're not in a very popular, in-demand market, you should still be able to stay in the top 100,000. If you're doing everything right on Amazon, even if you're in a very specialized topic or nonfiction topic or off-genre book that's like doesn't really satisfy a commercial popular genre, if you have a great cover and a great description and enough reviews, you should still be able to stay in the top 100,000 without a ton of promotion. So if you're at like 500,000 or a million, your cover is not good enough, your description is not good enough. I can say that almost with 100% certainty, even though I've never seen your book, because if your book was good enough, if your cover was great and your description was great, I think without hardly any marketing, you would be sticking above 100,000 on Amazon. So if nobody's new course or promotion strategy works for you, the problem is with your product, not the method. So I also hear a lot of people, and this is kind of frustrating for me, they say they've already taken Mark Dawson's course, they've already taken Nick Stevenson's course, they've already taken Joanna Penn's courses, like they've taken all the courses. And number one, they say they've taken all the courses and it's not working for them, but they haven't actually done the things that those courses recommend. Like Nick Stevenson mostly recommends reader magnets, which are perma-free books, which is something I talk a lot about. Also, a lot of people take his course and don't actually do a perma-free book, which is a huge mistake. That's like the foundational piece of his course. So if you think you've learned what you needed to learn from a marketing course, but you're not doing the number one strategy in that course, you're not really giving that course a chance. Mark Dawson mostly talks about Facebook ads, advertising on Facebook, and now also Amazon ads with his new course. But Amazon ads won't work if your basic core offer isn't good enough. So if you don't have a great cover, a great description, and enough reviews, then even if you do everything in Mark's course perfectly, you're still not going to convert very well, because nobody, even if you put your book in front of the right readers, people aren't going to click it. Or you'll spend too much per click and it won't sell very well, or you won't get really good sell-through. So when people buy the first book, or I think Mark mostly also advertises to get people to download the first book for free to get them on the list, and then you pitch the second or third book in the series, which can totally work if you have a series and if you have a very well-designed, well-branded first book with a lot of reviews and a great description. If you don't have a good core offer, you won't be able to make paid advertising work for you. So, I mean, those two courses, Nick's is kind of about giving away perma-free books, Mark's is kind of about paid advertising. I think both of those strategies work really well. I try to do both, perma-free books and paid advertising together, and they can work really well, but they won't work if you don't have a good cover and if you don't have a good description, which is kind of frustrating, like I said, because a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, I've already taken all these other courses, so they're not really interested in my course. They're not interested in learning anything new about marketing. They really want to just have someone else take care of the marketing for them. So they get a little bit desperate and they're willing to pay thousands of dollars to get somebody else to just market their books for them, which is what they think they need. But that's not what they need. What they need is new book covers and a better blurb and probably more book reviews. If they only have, I've seen books with like 95 reviews or 100 reviews. If you have that many reviews, that's great. You don't really need more reviews. But if you only have 10 or 20, I still would say, like, with 20 reviews, reviews aren't the main problem that's hurting you. You could get more reviews, but if you're not being successful with 20 reviews, it's still probably your cover and your description. So I just wanted to kind of stress this point, because most authors make decisions about their sales description and their book cover, and they just leave it for years, and they don't think to change it or update it because they think it's fine, and they just need like new marketing or new promotion. So they spend all this money on either paid services or on marketing courses to learn these new strategies, but nothing is going to work for you unless your core offer converts really well. So that's kind of what I try to make my courses focus a little more on as a book designer. I try to focus more on your cover and your description, because if you don't have those are kind of the most important pieces. So if nothing is working for you, rather than trying to find some new strategy that you haven't heard of before, you probably need a new cover. And if you aren't sure whether or not you need a cover, you can ask me. You can find me on the Guerrilla Publishing Facebook group, or I have a Facebook group that's called Does My Cover Suck, I think. And I can tell you really quickly if your cover is good enough to sell your book or not. And I'm not an expert at writing blurbs. I still think there's a lot of people who can write much better blurbs than I can. And I also don't have time to, like, if someone asked me for feedback on a blurb, I would have to rewrite the entire sales description, which could take me an hour or something. So that's something I sometimes might add as a bonus to some of my courses. but it's not really something I offer as a service outside of from maybe a special course launch or something. But in my Guerrilla Publishing group, we do have space where you can ask for feedback, and there's a lot of people in that group who can give you feedback on the blurb and help you to write a better one.